Hey everyone, I'm Silent Noise, and in this video we're going to be counting down the top 10 video game moments that scared me to death when I was a kid. These games were selected from my personal experience, so if there's a moment in a game that scared you as a kid, make sure to leave a comment down below. Also, there may be minor spoilers for the games mentioned in this list. Number 10. Word Rescue, a Gruzzle. Like a lot of children of the 90s, I enjoyed playing Apogee titles, which included Word Rescue and Math Rescue. These games always managed to have the perfect balance of fun and educational challenge. However, little did I know there was a dangerous group of killers on the loose called the Gruzzles. One touch from these slimy little weirdos and it was lights out. Not only was the chiptune music frightening, but the second that one of these Gruzzles touched you, Benny the Bookworm would swoop in and carry you away. The screen would go black and you would have to start the level over from the beginning again. Alternatively, Math Rescue had a similar system where you had a collection of trash can lids and the Gruzzles would steal one every time they touched you. If all of your trash can lids were stolen, then the screen would go black and Benny the now butterfly would carry you off to heaven, presumably. Thankfully, there was a way to deal with the Gruzzles. If you had a bucket of pink goo, you could press the spacebar and Benny would come to the rescue and dump the bucket on the Gruzzle in question. Number 9. King's Quest VII, The Scorpion. Long ago, from a kingdom called Daventry, a collection of games called the King's Quest Collection was released. This collection included the entire series of King's Quest, excluding number 8, and among those titles was a game that scarred me for life. King's Quest VII, The Princeless Bride has a cartoony, 2D animated style which seemed non-threatening at the time. When the game starts, you play as Queen Valenice as she's wandering through the desert.
Blast!
Oh, what's this? A tomb of some sort? Oh my god, it's a giant scorpion. Run for your lives.
No! Stop! I've got to find a way to get rid of that horrible thing. Or at least distract it for a while.
Though this encounter can be outrun or fairly easily solved, it was enough to prevent me from returning to this game for a few years.
I guess I just took too long in there.
Number 8. Lorabo 2, Losing Your Press Pass. Another game that was included in the King's Quest collection was Lorabo 2, The Dagger of Amon-Ra. This game had a lot of horrifying moments that I was not prepared for as a child. But one of the most terrifying ones that caused me to avoid the game for years was when you're trying to get into the speakeasy at the flower shop and you give the guy behind the door your press pass.
A press pass? I'll keep it for you. Now get lost. We don't want your kind around here.
He'll take your pass and you can take a hike.
In the final moments of your life, you wonder what the world is coming to these days.
In losing your press pass, the game immediately gives you a game over where poor Laura is murdered on the sidewalk. It's hard to say after all these years if the murder was random or if this was really the guy from behind the door. Who's to say? Number 7. Monkey Island 2, LeChuck's Revenge, LeChuck Finds You. The Monkey Island series has been my favorite series for a long time. In Monkey Island 2, LeChuck's Revenge, at the end of the game, spoiler alert, there's a moment where you need to explore an underground area and find ingredients to make a voodoo doll of LeChuck. As you're exploring, LeChuck has a random chance to appear in the room that you're in. When he does, you lose control of your mouse movement and, well, it's just plain scary. The zombie pirate LeChuck, in my opinion, is the scariest version of LeChuck. He's all yucky and green and look at those teeth. Thankfully, all he does with his voodoo doll of Guybrush is sends him into the next room. However, the threat of LeChuck appearing at any time is enough to scare the pants off any pirate. Number 6. Nancy Drew Treasure in the Royal Tower, The Library. This was the second Nancy Drew game that I played as a kid, the first being Stay Tuned for Danger, and this game felt a lot more frightening in its atmosphere. With hidden corridors, creaks and bumps in the night, and a howling snowstorm outside, it was very unsettling to travel through the dark passages inside the castle. As you explore, you find a vent system that leads into the castle library. Once Nancy climbs through the vent and steps into the library, it's time to panic. You hear the castle caretaker, Dexter Egan, as he's unlocking the door to the library, and if you don't hop back into the vent in time, he'll catch you.
Well, well, well. Look who returned to the scene of the crime. You're out of here.
The threat of Mr. Egan catching you in the library and resulting in a game over made me freeze. I couldn't figure out how to progress and was so scared I had to get my mom to complete this section while I hid behind a chair.
Okay, I hear you.
Once that section was over, I wasn't as afraid to progress through the rest of the game, but it sure was scary at the time. Number 5. Gobliiins, Don't Touch Anything. An obscure game that I played in the 90s was Gobliiins. I'd found this game in a thrift store with just the CD and a blank case. I had no idea what I was in for at the time. It took quite an effort to get the game running on the computer, but once it started, I was excited to see the strange pixel-style graphics. Shortly into the game's intro, it was apparent that this game was going to be wild. Just watch how the king reacts when his voodoo doll is poked by a needle. All of the characters have freaky looking teeth, and the sound effects are very bizarre to say the least. Once the game officially begins, it seems innocent enough. It's a crisp fall day with a nice breeze, but good God, don't touch anything. The game is not very forgiving for exploration, and characters will take damage easily when you use the wrong goblin or click on the wrong thing. It took a very long time for me to complete the first scene due to all of my goblins suffering horrible deaths over and over, and due to its difficulty, I was never actually able to complete this game. Number 4. The Oregon Trail, Notifications. The Oregon Trail was one of those games that a lot of kids played at either school, a friend's house, or at home. The main objective of the game was to escort your posse of strangely named people across the Oregon and make it safely to the other side. My method was to typically have a doctor in the group and then start the trip having higher rations and a moderate pace. As we journeyed, I would start lowering rations and travel at a grueling pace. Though this method would work for the most part, it was a little risky the further you went. However, no matter what precautions you took on your journey, there's always a chance for something to go wrong. Either a member of your posse will get sick, a wagon wheel will break, or your oxen can't find food or water. Whenever the game notifies you of one of these negative events, it will play a tune and pop up a message that'll make you jump. It brings the journey to a halt, and you as the player need to make a decision on how to handle the problems that arise. If you make the right decisions and luck is in your favor, it is possible to make it to the end of the game with most, if not all, of your posse intact. Number 3. I Can Be an Animal Doctor, the Tortoise. I Can Be an Animal Doctor was a game where you could explore different areas on a map to search for any animals in need of help. If you spotted an animal that was doing something out of the ordinary, you could click on it, bring it into the field hospital, and examine it under the guidance of Dr. Max Rigby. Once you figured out what was wrong with the sick animal, you could choose from a selection of medications and treatments, and then the animal would get better. This game was a lot of fun for animal lovers and also had a lot of educational value. During the game, you could come across a sick tortoise who was suffering from pneumonia, and during its checkup, you would listen to the tortoise's breathing. As an unsuspecting child with the computer speakers set way too loud, I had no idea what kind of horror I was in for.
This animal's lungs sound sick.
This horrific sound blasted through my computer speakers and made me nervous to ever use the stethoscope tool on an animal ever again. Who would have thought a tortoise could make that kind of sound? Number 2. The Sims 1. Something's on fire. When playing The Sims 1, you would quickly learn that it's important for your Sims to have skills before performing certain actions. Certain things are harmless, but if your Sim has zero cooking skill, there's a high chance for them to start a fire on the stove. Not only is the animation for the fire very frightening by the way it engulfs the entire stove and spreads quickly, it is also accompanied by the beeping fire alarm, if you have one, and some scary music. As the raging inferno threatens to burn down your Sim's home, you need to act fast and not only get the firefighters on the scene, but you need to prevent your dumb Sim from running into the scene and screaming at the fire. If only screams could put out the flames. As a kid, I would place several fire alarms around the kitchen just in case my Sim started a fire, and if a fire started, I would repeatedly make them run back outside so they wouldn't die in the blaze.
Dragon's Lair, the fantasy adventure where you become a valiant knight on a quest to rescue the fair princess from the clutches of an evil dragon.
Number 1. Dragon's Lair 1. Dirk the Dead. Many years ago, I had the Dragon's Lair trilogy for PC. This trilogy had Dragon's Lair 1, Dragon's Lair 2 Time Warp, and Space Ace on it. Though my favorite of the series is Dragon's Lair 2, I had spent a lot of time as a child playing the first game in the series. The game itself was fun, but it was difficult to understand when to use Dirk's sword or to move in a certain direction. There was a bit of guesswork involved because the flicker indications on the screen that told you where to go didn't always correlate with the arrow keys on the keyboard. Through trial and error was the only way to progress the game. However, this game had a counter where after you suffered a certain number of deaths, a new animation of Dirk would play in place of his typical reincarnation animation. Say that 10 times fast. Dirk would appear on screen with his arms crossed and then turn into a skeleton and crumble to the floor. This terrified me so much as a child that I would count the deaths in the game and then close my eyes when this animation played. I think that Don Bluth's art style was very terrifying when it came to imagery like this, and even though it scared me to death, he's still one of my favorite animators and I still love the Dragon's Lair trilogy. So that's my list of top 10 game moments that scared me to death when I was a kid. If there's a game moment that scared you when you were a kid, make sure to leave a comment down below. If you're new to my channel and enjoyed the video, make sure to like and subscribe. If you're interested in any of the games mentioned in this list, make sure to check out the description below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video.